Welcome to the Education Over Debt podcast. I'm Sheena Hogan. I'm so glad you joined. This is a place where I give practical financial tips that anyone can understand and you can begin to implement now. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can be aware of any new content that we drop. Listen to us on any place you listen to your podcast, and be sure to rate and review us. On Spotify, you can become a monthly subscriber for as little as 99 cents per month. Today, we have a guest with us, Ms. Tameka Fryer Brown. She is a picture book author who writes to sow seeds of self-love, pride, connectivity, and inclusion in the hearts of children. She has written several books, and we are excited to have her with us today. Hi, Tameka. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you've gotten started with writing children's books.
Sure. Well, I was in medical sales. I sold custom packs to surgery centers and hospitals, operating rooms, so that they can do, surgical procedures. And I had been doing that for a while. And while I was employed there, I got married and had a baby. And when my oldest was about 8 months old, my supervisor told me that I was going to need to increase my travel and be on the road at least 4 nights a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that just was not going to work for me and what my family wanted to do and had envisioned for our quality of life. So I left the workforce and became a full-time mom. And before I knew it, that one baby had turned into 3 babies. And I love the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom, but I was looking for something more. At one particular point in time, with my youngest daughter, I have 3, and she was about almost 2 years old. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to find something that's more for me, more cerebral. And I just happened to be reading a picture book to her one day. And it just struck me, this was it. I had always had, or had been told I had a gift for writing. And I love the picture books that I was reading to them. I probably as much as they enjoyed them. And so I said, this is it. This is what I think I want to do. And so that was like the beginning of my pursuit to publication.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story and how you got there, especially the fact that you were in medical sales and you left there. Were you afraid to leave medical sales to be a stay-at-home mom?
I was not. I had been having some challenges with the job anyway. I had relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina after I got married. And when I was in Tampa, I was part of this pilot mentorship program right out of college, right out of FAMU. And I was paired with a senior sales rep our dynamic was awesome. It was fabulous. We did great work and had great sales numbers. And then when I was going to relocate to Charlotte, they said, well, let's translate that and, with a senior rep here. And it did not work out. We were oil and water. And so I wasn't enjoying the job anyway. And so I kind of got a transfer to another position where I was the mentor for sales reps that sold specifically to surgery centers. And I was traveling. I ended up having to cover the eastern half of the country.
Okay.
With these various reps, which was okay. But when he said 4 nights a week, I was like, nah, that's just not going to work. So it was a quality of life issue, and I hadn't been as happy with the job as I was in Tampa anyway. Fortunately, I was married, and my husband, together we had a really awesome income. But even with one income, it was quite doable. So he was on board at first, before the last straw. He was like, you can't hold on a little bit longer. I think it's gonna work out. But when that travel thing came into play, we couldn't both be on traveling that much.
Mhm.
So he was on board, and it was a really great decision for our family.
So during that process of you working and then going into not working, when did you realize that money was funny? Or did you already know money was funny before you got to that point?
Mm-hmm. I already knew money was funny. And because I grew up not having a lot of it, and so we had a lot of love, but not a lot of money.
Mm.
And so when I was young and thinking about college and what my career path would be, I had said in my mind that I want to choose a career where I was not going to ever have to worry about money. If I could be wealthy, that was cherry on, the top. But I wanted stability, and I wanted to be able to pay for all of my necessities, anything that popped up. If the car broke down, I wanted to be able to just take it to the shop and write a check. So I knew that I wanted that stability. But I guess I grew up always knowing that money was funny. And so that shaped my career choice. It shaped how I handled money, being kind of frugal and not spending it excessively. It probably helped determine the mate I selected, because he was the same way, if not even more frugal. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of, I've always known money was funny.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. Well, you mentioned picking a mate who also was on the same accord with you in regards to being frugal and things like that. Did anything change when you decided to be a stay-at-home mom and he worked full time? Did you guys have to make some adjustments, and were you guys both okay with that?
hmm By the time that I decided to leave the workforce, we were on the same page and we were okay with that. In fact, when we bought our house together, we bought it based on one income.
Mhm.
Even though we had qualified for a larger loan,
Mhm.
we just, you don't want to eat, sleep, and breathe the mortgage payment.
Mhm.
And so we bought it based on one income. So then when I left the workforce and we had a nice savings, um and our mortgage was, very much affordable. So I think we have put some things in place beforehand. Now, there was a time where we had three girls. We decided to put them all in private school. And so there were some times during that period where there was some juggling going on. There was some credit cards that were being, utilized and maybe not paid off every month. Um, but we made it through that period and got back on track. So
So how's it been now being an author of children's books, and how does that impact you? Do you go out to speak to a lot of children, like at the library or at their schools and things like that?
I do. I speak, I do author visits, and sometimes I speak at schools. Sometimes I've been at bookstores and I do presentations there. I have done things with the library. I've also conducted adult workshops
Okay.
on publishing and how to enter the children's book publishing field. Yeah, so I do speaking and engagements fairly regularly.
Okay. And what do your kids think now that you're an author? Like, I'm sure you read some of your books to them or asked them what their thoughts were when you were reading the books to them.
Oh, absolutely. They are my beta readers, or beta listeners sometimes. I'd most definitely, well, first of all, what do they think? I mean, when somebody is there witnessing as you make the sausage, they're not always as impressed with the end result of the sausage as somebody else who's just, saying, "Oh gosh, this is, great." So they see the process. I don't know that they're super duper impressed. I don't know, you would have to ask them, but they are a critical part of my writing. I do have them read the books aloud because I write picture books, which are meant to
Mhm.
be read aloud to and
Mhm.
with children. So it has to kind of tumble off the tongue in a certain way. And so I have them read my work aloud and I take notes in the places where they stumble. They do give me feedback when I have stories before I submit them to see if a publisher may want to buy them. They'll give me their feedback, and they give me some really accurate feedback too. So I'm real thankful. because we always read a lot. I think all of them have been really academically successful. And when people ask me kind of like, how that happened, I say, start reading to your children as early as possible. Read to them while they're still in the womb. Because that is the foundation, I believe, of all academic success, critical thinking skills, etc. So they are quite astute and adept at giving me feedback on the stories that I write. So yeah, I'm real thankful to have a kind of a built-in, cohort to help me out.
Right. Are all of them in college now, or you got some still in high school?
Well, my baby just finished her freshman year in college. She's gonna be she is a civil engineering major. And my middle daughter just graduated from college with a communications degree.
What schools do they attend?
Okay, yeah. My oldest, who graduated some years ago, she went to Chapel Hill.
Okay.
And she got she's a CPA. She got her master's of accounting from Chapel Hill and her undergrad. And my middle daughter went to UNCC, and she again got a degree in communications and with an organizational focus. And my youngest daughter is at Georgia Tech, and she is civil engineering.
Okay. All right. So they all went to some pretty great schools there. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how was that whole journey preparing them for college? Like if you had to give advice for young people as they begin their college journey, what would you share? Or even to parents, what would you give them as they begin to transition their kids to college?
Well, let me start with the young people. I would say, before you start high school, try to take some time and think about what you envision your life looking like when you're, say, age 40. I know that seems like ancient, probably will seem like ancient age, 30, 40. What do you envision life looking like? And then start planning backwards from there. Okay, so what kind of money you think you're going to need to be bringing in, to live that kind of lifestyle? And Google is so helpful. So there's so many things you can ask questions to Google, and they will give you some great answers. So figure what kind of money. Then think about what kind of jobs will help you make that level of money, and factor in what you're interested in and what your talents are when you're looking at those types of jobs. And from there, then you talk about what kind of education do you need to get those types of jobs? How competitive are they? How much you need to focus on great grades? What kind of extracurriculars do you need to help build your skill set in those areas? And that's what I would say. What do you want your life to look like? And start planning backwards from there. And what you do in school is going to have a really big impact on that. Parents, oh my goodness. Start saving. Yeah, go to people like Sheena to start your financial plan as early as possible, because I have found that it's harder to get scholarships. Let me back that up. Depending on your income level, there is, if you're super wealthy, you don't care what college costs, you can pay for it. If you are in the working poor, or have don't have as many financial resources, as long as your students have good grades, they can get college paid for. There is a middle range where it's a lot harder to get the financial resources, the scholarships, and things of that nature. Lots of need-based scholarships. The merit-based scholarships are a lot more competitive. So start that financial plan early, and do a lot of Google. Google is your friend too. Do a lot of research. Help your students with the whole scholarship research as early as possible, so that you can help them formulate those plans about what they need to do academically. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of research I think what we did, and we were blessed to be able to do this with my youngest in particular, we went to a scholarship counseling program. We heard about it through the grapevine. And I think it was like $75, if I'm not mistaken. And you could sign up for a whole program, but we just went to the one session, and we got a lot of helpful information there. And so yeah, just do as much research as you can and start saving, and hook up with people like Sheena that
Well,
can help advise.
I think it's good that you did mention the difference between need-based and merit-based scholarships. And yeah, like you said, doing the research. I think sometimes even people forget, like we have scholarships with our foundation, like to check out the smaller foundations or the sororities and fraternities. They usually offer a lot of scholarships to students, that's local. That,
Absolutely.
it may not be large amounts, but every little penny counts. And if you could get a whole lot of those small ones, because not a lot of people apply, right? So you have a higher probability of winning a scholarship. And then that could be a way you can kind of like build that portfolio. And then same thing with us, even when I was in Chicago, a lot of times we will write the check to the student. So if they did have some issues with traveling to the school, or like if they go out of state somewhere, or if they have a whole lot of money, sometimes school would like to, like put boundaries on how much they can take out per semester. If it's rented to the school, it's really weird. But you run into some of those things with it. So like some of the smaller organizations may write the check to the child so they can figure out how they want to spend the money, whether it's on getting to the school literally, or if it's on the books and all that kind of stuff. They can kind of work through that and navigate that. So yes, it's good that you mentioned about just the whole researching thing. And I think it's important too, like you mentioned too, just staying engaged with your child in regards to what their interests are. Like I love the fact that you said plan backwards from 40 backwards. What steps do you need to take? A lot of time I don't think people or kids think that far out. They just think about the right now.
Right.
So I think it's just good, just being engaged with your child, helping on a plan, helping them to think through how much this, money is, the income, the careers, all that good stuff. And then like figuring out how do we apply for scholarships to get to these schools. So that's good. Now all your students went to like predominantly white institutions. Did you want them to go to HBCU since you went to FAM, or no, not really? Or it just happened that way?
You know what? Both me and my husband met at FAMU. Okay. So they all applied to HBCUs and PWIs. And at the end of the day, it came down to what was going to be a fit for them.
Okay.
Like with my oldest daughter, she is very like regimented, rigid. And I know she was not going to do. She got a full scholarship to A&T. But when she went to visit the different places, it was about vibe, and she was not going to be able to deal with like, where is my money? That kind of stuff. She's just very do. Now, she also ideally, like, she's a Hillman. She got a Hillman, like, Cosby, the different world, the Hillman thing. She is a different world fanatic. I think ideally she would have loved to have gone to HBCU because she wanted a different world Hillman experience. But when she got to the campus, I mean, I just don't think they sold it. They sold it and sell it that way. My middle daughter had a different path. She went to community college, and then she went to the local school. And then my youngest, she also applied, and she really, it came down to, she got multiple full rides. But for her, it came down to was Georgia Tech was like number one and number two as far as her chosen career path. So, they were, A&T was in the cut, and really NCCU, they did a hard sell. She was like, she really liked them. But at the end of the day, it came down to, I think she got the full ride, and they were like number one and number two, ranked school for civil engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So that was well, we're not anti,
Yeah.
HBCU, but it just, everybody has to make the choice and the decision based on the fit for your overall. We talked about that overall picture,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she might have had a lot more fun, and that family vibe, which is what you get from an HBCU. But she was thinking, okay, my big picture plan. And right now, I mean, she's connected with, it's interesting. Our girls, like I said, I grew up in private school. So the older they got in that school, it was a Montessori school, the more white it became, right? Less diverse. So when my youngest daughter, the school ended up closing down. Like my oldest daughter finished from that school. My youngest daughter went through 7th grade. 8th grade, she went to a charter school. 9th grade, she went to a predominantly Black high school. Great experience. Loved it. But her closest friend group in that school was diverse, right? Asian people, Latino people, and so now that she's at Georgia Tech, her primary friend group is Black. So she's just, she just.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned they all explore different paths to what fit for them. Even the one going to the community college first, then going to the local university. Sometimes we discount the community colleges, but that could be a great path, especially if you don't have monies or if they're still trying to figure out what they want to do. They could go to the community college, figure it out at a lower cost, right? And then
absolutely. That's what it was. Yes.
And then move on to the 4-year school. So I really like the fact that you all had a diverse experience in each of the daughters' career choice and college journey. So that's really, really great.
Yeah, you have to follow your child,
Yeah. I think it's about more about the child than versus sometimes the parent want them to go to this school just because, see what works best for the child and where they can fit in.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I'm going to start wrapping up. We do have some rapid fire questions that I like to ask my guests when they come on the show. Okay. So it's only a few questions.
Okay. I'm not a rapid fire thinker. That's why I said, ooh, okay, here we go.
I think they'll be easy. Okay. So the first one is paper or plastic?
Paper.
Okay. Martin or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Martin.
Okay. That's my favorite too.
Yeah.
What's the best career advice that you've received?
Don't let anybody's trying to stand in your way succeed. You keep pushing, do what it takes to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Okay, great advice. And then my last question is, if someone wants to give you $1 million today, what would you do with the money?
Oh my. I'm not going to tell. My first thing was like, put it in the bank for a rainy day. But what would I want? I want to renovate my house. That's what I would do. I would use some of it to renovate my house.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Anything else you want to do with it?
Go to Hawaii. I have not been to Hawaii.
Okay. I haven't been either. So I want to go too. I actually work, our headquarters is in San Diego and everybody goes to Hawaii a lot from out there. And so because they talk about it so much, and I'm like, I need to go to Hawaii. Just because, Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. Where can people find you?
Yes. Well, my website is TamekaFryerBrown.com. And you can find me, all my socials from there. But Facebook, I'm Tameka Fryer Brown, children's author. On Twitter, I am TTEE Brown Kidlit. And on Instagram, I am Tameka Fryer Brown.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited about everything that you share with us, and we will put it on our podcast platform and we will share it with other guests.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.